All right, so welcome everyone to the very first deep dive. I am
Mhm.
so excited to kick things off with all of you today
Yeah,
because we're diving in some really fascinating, uncharted territory.
definitely.
Um, we've got this mysterious manuscript, I guess you could call it,
Right.
called Troxler's Journal that just kind of appeared out of thin air.
Yeah, it just kind of landed in our laps
It did, and anonymously, I might add.
anonymously, which adds a whole other layer.
A whole other layer to this whole thing we're going to be exploring.
Exactly.
But yes, we're talking about metaphysics,
Mm-hmm.
a very unique look at astrology,
Very unique.
and something called the Lemurian nomogram.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Never in my life, and I'm a little nervous to even crack this thing open.
Well, it's dense, that's for sure, but luckily that's why you have me here.
That's why I have you here, the expert, to help us break down these incredibly complex ideas.
Yeah, I mean, diving headfirst into Troxler's journal is not for the faint of heart.
Absolutely not, but I think our listeners are up for the challenge.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So before we really get into the weeds here,
Right.
let's just start with the basics.
Hmm.
What kind of document is this? What are we even dealing with here?
Well, it reads like a personal journal on the surface, day-to-day musings, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But the voice is distinct.
Okay.
It's almost as if the author is kind of intentionally blurring the lines between personal experience and this grand cosmic narrative.
Okay, so it's not just like, Dear Diary, today I went to the store.
No, no, not at all. It's very philosophical, very esoteric.
Interesting.
And within these personal entries, the author drops all these complex metaphysical concepts, like you mentioned, hyperstitional superfiction.
Yeah, that one really threw me for a loop. What is hyperstitional superfiction?
So imagine a story, right?
Okay.
A really powerful story, one that taps into our deepest fears and anxieties or maybe our desires.
Okay.
And this story becomes so powerful, so widespread that it starts to influence reality.
So you're saying fiction can shape reality
Exactly.
just because enough people believe in it.
Yeah, think of it like a self-fulfilling prophecy on a societal scale.
Wow, that's a pretty wild concept.
It is, and it kind of challenges our conventional understanding of what's real and what's not.
Right, because we tend to think of reality as this fixed thing, this concrete thing. But what if it's more malleable than we realize?
That's what the author seems to be suggesting.
Now, there's another term that really caught my eye that I have absolutely no idea what it means.
Which one?
Syzygetic reconstruction.
Oh, yeah?
What is going on with that phrase?
So think about mixing paint.
Okay.
You take two colors, you blend them together, and you create something new, right?
Right.
Well, syzygetic reconstruction is kind of like that. But instead of colors, we're talking about the fundamental forces that shape reality.
Oh, wait.
These forces, these opposites, are constantly interacting, combining, creating something new.
So reality is constantly being reconstructed.
That's the implication. Yeah, it's not static, it's not fixed. It's this dynamic interplay of forces.
Okay, so we've got reality being shaped by fiction and constantly in flux, and we're only on like page 2 of this journal.
We're just getting started.
This is incredible. Now, another thing that really stood out to me was the author's unique take on astrology.
Right, this isn't your typical horoscope stuff.
Not at all.
Mm.
They're talking about people being like planets
Mm-hmm.
and relationships being like transits.
Transits, yeah.
I've never encountered anything like this before. Have you?
It's definitely a different approach to astrology.
Yeah.
See, most systems focus on, interpreting the positions of celestial bodies at the time of your birth to understand your personality and maybe your life path, right?
Right.
But in Troxler's journal, it's more about understanding your own inherent energy, your essence as a kind of planetary force,
Okay.
and then your interactions with others. Those become like these cosmic events, these transits that can influence your trajectory.
So it's almost like we're all moving through space, like celestial bodies bumping into each other, influencing each other's paths.
Exactly like a cosmic dance.
And you know what else is wild is that all of this ties into something called the Lemurian nomogram,
Oh, yeah, the nomogram.
which the author describes as this cosmic blueprint or map of consciousness.
It's fascinating, really.
It is, and it's broken down into all these different zones
Zones.
that represent different aspects of existence, and where you fall within these zones can be influenced by your planetary essence, your relationships, your beliefs. It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in, but it's a really compelling framework for understanding ourselves and the world around us.
Absolutely. So imagine applying this Lemurian nomogram to your own life, right?
Right. Where do you fit in?
Where do you fit in this cosmic blueprint?
Yeah, I mean, for example, Zone 9, which the author talks about quite a bit,
Okay.
is described as a zone of profound transformation
Okay.
where the boundaries between what we perceive as real and unreal, they start to dissolve.
That's where it gets really trippy, right?
Right. It does. It's the zone where those concepts we talked about earlier, hyperstitional superfiction and sysagetic reconstruction, they really come into play.
So our beliefs can actually reshape reality itself.
That's the idea, and that's just one zone of the nonogram. There's so much more to explore.
Okay, so much more to unpack here, but before we get too lost in the complexities of this cosmic blueprint, let's take a step back for a second,
Okay.
because we still haven't even touched on the biggest mystery of all. Who is this Troxler?
Right, the author, the mystery writer.
I mean, why go through all this trouble to create this elaborate manuscript,
Uh-huh.
to lay out these incredible ideas, and then just send it off anonymously?
Yeah. What's the motivation there? Is it fear of ridicule, a desire to protect some ancient secret tradition, or maybe, as the author suggests, it's all about planting a seed?
Planting a seed.
Yeah,
you
an
know?
idea that takes root and ultimately transforms our understanding of the world.
It's like they're leaving these breadcrumbs,
Oh, crumbs, yeah.
inviting us to follow them down this rabbit hole of metaphysical exploration.
Down the rabbit hole. Exactly.
And you know what I have to say? Even though we've only just begun to dip our toes into Troxler's journal,
Uh-huh.
it's clear that we are in for a wild ride.
Oh, yeah, buckle up. It's like the journey continues beyond the page.
It does, and this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Exactly, because we're not just dealing with abstract ideas anymore. Troxler's journal has inspired a real-world project.
Right, a tangible manifestation of these concepts.
Okay, so towards the end of the manuscript, there's this transcript of a conversation between two people named Troxler and Bell.
Oh, yes, the mysterious duo.
We don't know if this Troxler is the same one who wrote the journal,
Right, it could be a coincidence.
or a pseudonym.
Or maybe even a fictional dialogue created by the author.
You know, just to illustrate their point,
It's a puzzle.
it is a puzzle, but regardless of who they are, this Troxler and Bell are deeply invested in the ideas laid out in the journal.
They're true believers.
So much so that they decide to create this ambitious project called Black Mirror Productions.
Black Mirror Productions.
Now, have you ever heard of anything like this before?
It's completely unique.
It is. It's like they're trying to create a living, breathing embodiment of Troxler's journal.
A microcosm of the reality described in the manuscript.
Exactly. And they're drawing on all sorts of systems and practices to inform their vision.
Right, we're talking about spirituality,
Numerology.
human design, even elements of the Lemurian nomogram.
So they're really trying to build this space according to these cosmic blueprints.
They are, and it raises a fascinating question. What would it actually be like to live in an environment designed according to those principles?
Right. What would the day-to-day look like in a place like that?
Yeah, one detail that I found particularly interesting was their intention to use human design as a framework for community building.
Human design.
Remember those unique energetic blueprints we talked about earlier?
Right. Like everyone has their own kind of cosmic signature.
Exactly. And so they're trying to create a community where people's energies are aligned, where they can interact harmoniously based on those blueprints.
So you're telling me they're designing living spaces that complement individual energy flows.
That's the idea.
Could that lead to a more balanced community experience?
It's a compelling question.
It is, and it's something that Black Mirror Productions seems determined to explore.
There's definitely a sense of intentionality behind this project.
Right, it's not just some random experiment. They're really trying to take these abstract concepts from the journal and translate them into a tangible reality.
A real-world application.
Okay, so the conversation between Troxler and Bell in the manuscript, it gives us some insights into their personal motivations behind this whole thing.
Like, why are they doing this?
Exactly. And it seems that Troxler especially is driven by a desire to honor their family history, to leave a positive legacy behind.
It's almost like Troxler's journal itself sparked this journey of self-discovery.
Right, leading them to this point where they feel compelled to create something meaningful, something that will have a lasting impact on the world.
A ripple effect.
Yeah, like a single stone dropped into a pond.
Creating these ever-expanding circles.
And it all goes back to the power of belief.
Right, that core concept from Troxler's journal.
That belief shapes reality,
And Troxler and Bell are taking that belief and they're running with it.
building a whole community around it.
It's like watching a seed sprout and grow into something completely unexpected.
We've got this mysterious manuscript that lays out these mind-blowing ideas, and then we've got these two individuals inspired to turn those ideas into a real-world community.
It's a fascinating progression.
It is, and it makes you wonder what will ultimately come of it all. What fruit will this unusual seed bear? I mean, it's like we're watching the birth of something groundbreaking, but it's all shrouded in mystery.
That's the beauty of it, though, right?
I guess so.
It's like we're piecing together a puzzle,
Yeah,
but some of the key pieces are still missing.
exactly. And that makes it all the more intriguing.
Definitely.
I keep coming back to this idea of hidden knowledge.
Right, like the Lemurian nomogram.
Yeah, the author presents it as this ancient system lost to time, and now it's being resurrected through this journal.
And potentially through Black Mirror productions.
Right. I mean, it plays into our fascination with secret societies, with esoteric knowledge passed down through generations.
Yeah, the idea that there's this hidden truth beneath the surface of everyday reality.
But what if these ideas aren't really hidden at all?
What do you mean?
What if they've always been there,
Okay.
accessible to anyone willing to see them?
So you're saying that maybe Troxler's journal and Black Mirror productions are just catalysts?
Maybe prompting us to question our assumptions, to open ourselves to new ways of perceiving the world.
To think outside the box.
Exactly. I mean, maybe that's the real message here. It's not about accepting any one idea as absolute truth.
Right.
It's about cultivating a sense of curiosity, a willingness to explore different perspectives, to acknowledge that our understanding of reality is always evolving.
We're constantly learning and growing.
Right. Troxler's journal. It encourages us to embrace the mystery, to sit with the discomfort of not having all the answers.
To be okay with not knowing everything.
And maybe in that space of uncertainty, we discover something truly profound, something that resonates with our own experiences and expands our understanding of what's possible.
I like that as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm struck by the sheer scope of what we've uncovered.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
From those mind-bending metaphysical concepts to the potential real-world implications of Black Mirror productions.
It's clear that we've only scratched the surface.
Barely dipped our toes in the water.
And there's so much more to explore. We could research the history of Lemuria.
We could delve into the connection between human design and community building.
We could even try to track down this elusive Troxler.
So many possibilities.
The possibilities are endless, and I, for one, am excited to see where this journey takes us.
Me too. It's been a fascinating exploration.
Absolutely. But for now, I want to thank you for being such an incredible guide through this complex material.
Well, thank you for having me.
And of course, a huge thank you to all of you, our listeners, for joining us on this inaugural deep dive.
We hope you found it thought-provoking.
And maybe even a little bit mind-bending.
We encourage you to keep pondering these mysteries.
And to consider how these ideas might resonate with your own life.
And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to create something extraordinary yourself.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving.